You have a gift that most people don't even notice, let alone understand. While others speak to be heard, you speak to be felt. While they persuade with volume, you influence through presence. There's a quiet power in the way you move through the world, a kind of invisible pull. You don't manipulate to control, you guide to protect, to inspire, to steer people gently toward what they need, even when they don't see it yet. This video isn't about exposing you, it's about understanding you, because the strategies you use, often without even thinking, are some of the most ethically powerful tools any personality type can possess. So let's explore what you've always known, but never fully put into words. Let's dive right in. All right, first on the list, ethical gaslighting. Let's talk about one of your most misunderstood powers, ethical gaslighting. Yes, the word gaslighting makes everyone panic, but don't worry, you're not out here erasing people's realities or making anyone question their sanity. What you do is far more subtle and honestly a little poetic. You don't manipulate people into doubting themselves. You guide them back into believing in themselves, whether they want to or not. When someone's spiraling, you step in with surgical emotional precision and say things like, "Why, you've always been the strong one," or "That's not like you. You're better than this." And just like that, their anxiety pauses. Their panic hesitates. Their worst impulse gets caught in a psychological bear trap made of kindness and memory. You're not bending truth. You're reframing identity. And the wild part? It works. People don't even realize they're being redirected because it feels like you're simply reminding them who they really are. But let's be honest, you're kind of installing a firmware update in real time. Psychologists call this identity affirmation. It's when someone's core values are reinforced through external validation. But let's be real. INFJs figured this out before psychology did. You've been doing this since you learned how to speak in full sentences. You take someone's best qualities, shine a light on them like they're the star of a motivational documentary, and then subtly, you make it emotionally uncomfortable for them to act out of alignment with that narrative. Because no one wants to let down the INFJ who believes in them. Now, is it manipulative? Technically, yes, but is it harmful? Not really. It's like emotional Aikido. You use someone's better self as leverage to steer them away from a bad decision. And honestly, you do it so smoothly that they thank you afterward without realizing you just Jedi mind tricked them into not texting their toxic ex at 2 a.m. So no, you're not gaslighting people in the villainous sense. You're ethically reprogramming their behavior through targeted encouragement, surgical empathy, and maybe a dash of divine guilt tripping. And the best part? You walk away looking like a saint, because to them, you are. That's the INFJ way. Strategic kindness wrapped in emotional wizardry, and you make it look effortless. And next up, we've got controlled vulnerability. Let's talk about how you open up, but not really. See, you've mastered something most people can't even fake, the art of controlled vulnerability. You share your feelings, yes, but only the curated ones. The ones that build trust, create intimacy, and disarm suspicion without ever putting you at risk. You drop a story about that time you felt lost or misunderstood or completely wrecked by life, but it's always the safe story. The one that's been edited like a movie trailer. Dramatic enough to earn emotional points, but short enough to keep the plot mysterious. Just enough detail to make people lean in, but never enough to actually let them inside. And while they're emotionally bonding with this raw version of you, what you're really doing is opening them up. Because the moment you get vulnerable, they do too. But usually more, way more. Suddenly, they're revealing childhood trauma and their most recent therapy breakthroughs while you sip tea and nod like an emotional midwife. Here's the twist. You're not doing this out of manipulation. You're doing it out of strategy. Your brain instinctively knows that trust has to be earned, not demanded. So you build it layer by layer, using glimpses of your internal world like a lighthouse flashing through fog, just enough light to guide people in, never enough to let them map the shoreline. And it works. People say, "Wow, I've never opened up to someone so fast." But they don't realize that you designed that moment. You built the safety net, lit the path, and invited them in with emotional blueprints they didn't even notice. This isn't fake. It's not deceptive. You really do feel those things. You just don't throw your entire soul on the table in the first 10 minutes like a social roulette game. You protect your depth with precision because you know that too much vulnerability too fast can actually push people away, or worse, give the wrong people access. So yes, your vulnerability is real, but it's filtered, intentional, strategic. It's the kind of emotional exposure that builds bridges without burning you out. People feel connected to you. They trust you. They want to open up. And they never realize you're the one writing the emotional script the entire time. That's not deception, that's INFJ design. Thirdly, the long game. You've never been a fan of rushing. While everyone else is out here trying to win arguments, score quick points, or force a breakthrough in one dramatic speech, you are sitting back, sipping your metaphysical tea, and patiently playing the long game. See, you don't push. You plant. A thought here, a feeling there, a carefully timed observation that feels casual, almost forgettable, until it quietly takes root in someone's subconscious like an idea seed. Just waiting for the right season to bloom. And you wait. Not because you're lazy, but because you know people don't change when they're told to. They change when they feel like it was their idea. So, you make it feel like it was their idea. You let time do the work that pressure never could. And the best part? They always come back, weeks later, months sometimes, with this proud revelation. You know, I've been thinking, maybe I should let go of that toxic habit. And you just nod, like, wow, that's so wise. Meanwhile, you were the one who nudged that insight into orbit back in chapter 1 of their emotional storyline. This isn't passive manipulation, it's psychological architecture. You're not rushing them through a renovation. You're drawing the blueprints and letting them build the house on their own time. And when it's done, they thank you for helping them find the tools. Honestly, if your influence was any slower, it'd be mistaken for divine intervention, because that's what it feels like. Guidance that arrives just when they need it from someone who's just always known. You never need to take credit. That's not the point. You're not here for applause. You're here for transformation. And if that takes a little longer, so be it. You've got the patience of a monk and the vision of a movie director. While everyone else is playing checkers, you're out here writing plot arcs like it's season 3 of an emotional Netflix series. And the craziest part, they never know it was you, because it doesn't feel like manipulation, it feels like growth. That's the INFJ advantage. You don't force outcomes, you forecast them, and then you wait for the world to catch up. Fourth on the list, the mirror technique. You've probably done this your whole life, without even realizing it had a name. When someone's loud and animated, your energy rises to meet them. When they're quiet and introspective, you soften. You match tone, posture, even sentence rhythm, and people call it empathy. But what you're doing is far more sophisticated. You're mirroring. It's not mimicry, it's resonance. You're creating a psychological reflection so subtle, the other person feels like they've finally found someone who gets them. And that feeling, that comfort, it's addictive. It creates trust faster than any heartfelt speech ever could. This isn't just kindness, it's connection engineering. By reflecting someone's emotional state back to them, you bypass their defenses. You lower the volume of their internal noise. Suddenly, they're not explaining themselves to be understood. They already feel understood. And when people feel seen, they open up and they reveal more. They listen more. This is why strangers tell you their life story in line at the grocery store. Why people say, I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's because they feel emotionally mirrored. Like looking into a version of themselves they actually like. And sure, psychologists might call this limbic synchrony or rapport building. But let's be real. You were doing this back in middle school before you even knew what those words meant, because it's instinct for you. It's how you navigate relationships, subtly adjusting your energy to meet someone exactly where they are. But here's the twist. While they're feeling validated, you're collecting data. Not in a creepy way, just efficiently. You learn what they need, what they fear, what they want but won't say. And all of that becomes part of your internal blueprint for how to interact with them going forward. So yes, it's empathy, but with a feedback loop. And like all powerful tools, it's ethically neutral. What matters is how you use it. And you tend to use it like a healing balm. Calming, clarifying, connecting. They feel understood. You gain insight. Everyone wins. You don't mirror to manipulate. You mirror to meet. But in that meeting, in that reflection, lies one of the most quietly influential forces in your INFJ toolkit. And let's be honest, you make it look like magic. Fifthly, the helper halo effect. You're the kind of person people instinctively trust. And it's not by accident. You've built a quiet reputation. Not flashy, not loud, just this consistent vibe of, I'm here if you need me. And somehow, without ever trying to be the center of attention, you become the emotional epicenter of every group you're in. That's the helper halo effect. It starts with the little things. Listening when no one else does, noticing the tone beneath the words, giving advice that actually feels like soul surgery. And before you know it, people aren't just coming to you for support. They're following your emotional lead. Because once someone sees you as helpful, insightful, or just freakishly perceptive, everything you say starts to carry more weight. You could suggest the most basic idea, and people will treat it like it came from an ancient scroll. INFJ said it, must be true. Now, are you asking for that influence? Not really. But are you using it? Oh, absolutely. You become the unofficial therapist, the group's compass, the go-to for what do you think I should do? And sure, you pretend to hesitate. I mean, I don't know everything. But deep down, you do know. You've been quietly collecting emotional intel for weeks. You practically wrote this person's character arc before they hit their first plot twist. And here's where it gets sneaky. Once people associate you with clarity and comfort, they start to defer to you without even realizing it. You don't have to push. You just gently guide, like a GPS that whispers instead of shouts. No one questions you because, well, you've earned your halo. And who argues with an angel? But let's be real. It's not manipulation. It's consistency. People trust you because you've shown up for them again and again. Your wisdom doesn't come from dominance. It comes from presence. And that's a form of influence that's almost impossible to resist. So when you offer a suggestion, people listen. When you raise an eyebrow, they reflect. When you say, maybe think about it this way, their entire worldview does a software update. That's the halo effect in action. And you, dear INFJ, wear it without even trying. Just try not to glow too hard. You're already intimidating enough. Sixthly, the illusion of choice. You've mastered a subtle art, giving people freedom. That leads exactly where you want them to go. It's not coercion. It's not control. It's orchestration. And it sounds something like this. Do you want to talk about it now or after you've had time to think? Translation, we're definitely talking about it. Just pick your emotional runway. This is what makes you such a psychological ninja. You frame choices so gently, so naturally, that people walk right into your preferred outcome. thinking it was their own brilliant idea. It's not forceful, it's not obvious, it's just efficient. It's the emotional equivalent of setting up a maze with only one exit and then complimenting people for finding their way out. Look at you making such a mature decision. Meanwhile, you're the one who quietly installed the exit sign in neon 2 days ago. This is what they call guided autonomy. It feels like freedom, but really, it's freedom in a fenced garden. A garden you planted, pruned, and probably narrated like a self-help audiobook. The beauty of it? People never feel manipulated. In fact, they feel empowered. You didn't corner them, you gave them options. It's just that every option had your fingerprints on it. Your tone, your timing, your emotional framing. And let's be honest, you're not doing this out of ego. You just care about the outcome. You don't want people to self-destruct, you want them to heal, to grow, to make decisions that won't end in yet another 3 a.m. regret text to their emotionally unavailable ex. So you steer, softly, strategically, invisibly, and somehow it always works. They come back later, proud of the choice they made. And you smile, knowing you gave them that choice in a way they could actually accept. Because you know that telling someone what to do usually leads to rebellion. But letting them arrive there on their own, that's transformation. This is why people call you wise. Not because you speak in riddles or wear robes, but because your guidance always feels like their own epiphany. You don't take credit. You don't need to. You already know the truth. You're not just giving people choices. You're shaping the paths they walk without ever touching their feet. Last but not least, playing the fool. You are, without question, one of the sharpest people in the room. But sometimes, you pretend not to be. And not because you're insecure, but because you understand the power of being underestimated. See, while everyone else is busy flexing their intellectual biceps, you're over there quietly sipping your mental matcha, nodding like, I never thought of it that way, while secretly calculating 17 layers of subtext and emotional motives. You say things like, I could be totally wrong, but, or, I probably don't get it, but, knowing full well that you absolutely get it, and probably wrote a thesis on it in your head 5 minutes ago. But you let others feel like the expert, like they're leading the conversation. Because when people think they're leading, they stop guarding themselves. That's the trick. You play the fool to let the truth come out. And it works every time. They open up, drop their polished act, start revealing what they really think, what they really feel. Meanwhile, you're just collecting data like a quiet little emotional librarian in the corner. This isn't deception, it's strategy. Because you've learned that if you show your full intellectual hand too soon, people either get intimidated or defensive. But when you downplay it, they relax, and that's when you really learn who they are. It's not about manipulation. It's about creating psychological safety. People aren't honest when they feel evaluated. They're honest when they feel superior. So you lean back, ask soft questions, let them monologue, and by the end, you know everything. And they don't even realize they told you. It's kind of like being an emotional Sherlock Holmes disguised as a quiet barista. No one sees you coming, and that's the point. So, while others are arguing to be right, you're observing to understand. While they perform, you extract. And in the end, you're the one with the clearest picture of the truth because you let everyone else believe you weren't looking. That's the INFJ sleight of mind. No smoke, no mirrors, just a disarming smile, a nod of feigned uncertainty, and a mental archive that could probably solve a small-town murder if given the chance. And honestly, you enjoy it, because playing the fool isn't about dumbing yourself down. It's about mastering when to be seen and when to be dangerously invisible. The truth is, you don't try to manipulate. You just understand people so well that it's hard not to guide them. You feel their emotions, see their patterns, and you care enough to help. but help in a way that's invisible, gentle, and totally deniable. So, is it manipulation? Or just highly empathic strategy? I'll let you decide. Or, more accurately, I'll plant the thought and let you come to that conclusion later, like a true INFJ. If you enjoyed this deep dive into your INFJ toolkit, hit that like button to let the algorithm know you're one of the rare ones. Subscribe for more videos that actually get you, and drop a comment below. Tell me which strategy surprised you the most, or which one you've secretly been using all along. You're not alone, and you're definitely not average. Let's keep decoding what makes you so quietly powerful. And I see you in the next one.